Week 21 of the 2023-24 NBA season is in the books, which means it's time to run it back. This is Run It Back, NBA Week in Review, LA Lakers edition. I'm Brandon Sparks, writer at thepeachbasket.net, and your host. This is the show where we recap the week that was for the Los Angeles Lakers and then highlight their marquee matchup for the week to come. Let's start by looking at where the team lands on the Peach Basket's objective power rankings this week. The Lakers overall went up to number 16 on our power rankings, but they finished the week at 1-2 after a tough loss to the Warriors due to the absence of Anthony Davis. The Lakers moved back down to the number 10 seed in the Western Conference because of that loss. The Timberwolves win on Sunday was a huge step in the right direction, even though they were missing two of their top players in Rudy Gobert and Karl-Anthony Towns. Without those two, Anthony Davis just had a monster performance, putting up a stat line that has never been put up in the NBA with 27 points, 25 rebounds, and 7 steals, along with 3 blocks. It was a dominant display, even though his primary defender was Naz Reid. And then the Kings game was just really hard to watch. We took a big step forward with the Timberwolves game, and then we took 2 steps back. There was no energy from any of the players at the Kings game. Davis, D'Lo, LeBron just looked like they didn't want to be playing at all. And the only players who stepped up on offense were Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura. And of course, that didn't matter as the Kings put on a scoring clinic exposing the glaringly terrible defense. I was watching First Take, so take this with a grain of salt, but they said that the Lakers have had the second worst defense in the NBA, and I believe it. It's really terrible. They're only ahead of the Utah Jazz. I don't know if that's specifically for after the All-Star break. I don't remember specifically, but it is glaringly obvious how terrible the defense is. We don't close out on threes. We just look lazy sometimes, especially LeBron, which is okay considering how much he carries on offense. But other players like D'Lo and Reeves and Rui and the players off the bench just really need to step up on their defense. And I think that's just a problem considering how many players are out. Vanderbilt and Gabe Vincent are just 2 players who bring a lot of defensive energy to the team. And without them, it's just glaringly obvious how terrible the defense is. So I hope when they come back at the end of the month, hopefully, that the defense steps up, especially with Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt really brings a lot on defense. So I hope he brings some energy for the team. Sabonis also increased his win streak against Davis, who still has never beaten Sabonis in his entire career, which is a crazy stat line. Sabonis is now 10-0 against Davis. Darvin Ham, the Lakers head coach, after the game, said to reporters he wished Mike Brown would just let him know what they were running on offense so they could stop it. So that's just great to hear from the head coach, that he just has no idea how to stop the Kings. And if we can't stop the Kings, how the heck are we going to stop teams like the Nuggets or the Timberwolves with their full roster or other high offense teams? The one optimistic performance from the Kings game was just seeing Rui score so well, and I hope Darvin Ham sees how great he is when given the minutes. And Rui continued to play great in the Warriors game on Saturday. The Warriors game was turning out to be another classic between LeBron and Curry, and it ended up being a close game all the way through, but so many factors just ended up ruining a great show. Anthony Davis left the game in the first quarter with a swollen eye that he couldn't open, and then he never returned. And without Davis, there was some minutes where LeBron was forced to play center, as the Lakers just had no other bigs besides Jackson Hayes. Christian Wood was out. Vanderbilt, of course, Vincent. The number of players on the sidelines in street clothes was really eye-opening, as all of them would be getting rotation minutes if they were healthy, especially Vanderbilt and Christian Wood without Davis around. And honestly, one-eye Davis would have been better than what we had to deal with without him around. The defense went from bad to worse without Davis, as the Warriors constantly attacked the paint and were making alley-oops and easy layups throughout the game. And it was just glaringly obvious how terrible the defense was without him around. The Warriors scored 20 points in the paint in the second quarter alone, which was the quarter Davis was out entirely. And in the first quarter, they scored 2 points in the paint, which was the quarter Davis actually played. So it's very obvious how terrible our defense is, especially without Davis. The final 2 minutes of the game, despite the poor defense from the Lakers, was actually extremely close. The Lakers were leading in the first quarter, and then they lost it once Davis was gone, and they were struggling to come back. They never were down too much, but they never were leading after the second quarter, I believe. LeBron hit a clutch fadeaway 3 from the corner in the final 2 minutes, and that cut the Warriors' lead to 4, and that's when the clock hit a standstill. There was a review, and then another review, and then the shot clock just stopped working in the stadium, which made the last 2 minutes last 20 minutes. The backup shot clock apparently wasn't working, so LeBron, Curry, and many other players were just showing their frustration on the court as they started playing. They would start playing, they would inbound the ball, and then the shot clock would stop working, and they had to resort to the announcer calling out every 5 seconds for the shot clock counting down. And at that point, the energy was just at 0 for both teams. LeBron had lost his rhythm. He had scored 40 points, which is tying his season high. And he lost his rhythm, and it was over in an instant because both teams were just done playing after all of the time lost. And LeBron was caught stepping out of bounds on his fadeaway 3 later on, so they called it off. So the lead went back up to 7, and it was just so much that ruined just a great show. And as LeBron was caught saying during the long review, "I'm too old for this shit." Let's look at the top performers, the best to do it in the key categories for the Lakers this week. LeBron led the team in points with an average of 29 as he tied his season high of 40 points against the Warriors. Austin Reeves led the team in three-pointers made with 4. LeBron had 10.3 field goals made on average, which was the most on the team. For the week, Anthony Davis averaged 13 rebounds, along with 4.7 offensive rebounds, which is a step up big time from last week. And for defensive rebounds, LeBron and Davis both averaged the most on the team with 8.3. LeBron James had 9 assists on average this week. Davis averaged 1.7 blocks and 3 steals a game, thanks to the Timberwolves game where he had 7 steals. And the best game score average for the Lakers this week, you could guess it, LeBron James, who had 25.6. Let's look at the week ahead for the Lakers, week 22. It's a good break from the tough schedule of the last couple weeks. On Monday, they play the Hawks at Crypto, and then the team doesn't play again until Friday when they play the Sixers, who will still be without Joel Embiid, barring any surprises. Week 22 is hopefully going to be a much easier week for the Lakers, and they can spend some time getting their injured players like Vanderbilt and Vincent back in action, alongside practicing and watching film to understand how to bounce back from week 21 and what areas to improve. It's not looking good for Christian Wood specifically. He has a very similar injury to Gabe Vincent, and we all know how long Gabe Vincent has been out. So it might end up being no Christian Wood for the playoffs or anything, which would really hurt the team. So hopefully they can bounce back and figure out some other ways to improve. And to save Darvin Ham some time, you guys just got to learn how to close out on threes better and work on some more offensive plays besides basic pick and roll and just watching LeBron ISO constantly. Watching the Warriors game was really tough, comparing the offenses, because the Warriors just looked like they knew what they were doing. They were setting screens, they were running plays. And then on the Lakers side, it was a lot of just watching LeBron at the top of the key or doing a basic pick and roll that didn't end up doing anything. And there was a lot of shot clock violations and moments where the Lakers just had to throw up a shot. And it was really obvious how bad our offense was compared to the Warriors. So I really hope we can figure out some more offensive plays to run, but knowing Darvin Ham's track record, not looking great. But I do still see the Lakers going 2-0 this week. The Hawks are just not big enough to beat the Lakers unless Anthony Davis is unable to play, of course. And as for the Sixers, besides Tyrese Maxey, they just don't have a lot of firepower, and they aren't doing great in general right now. So the Lakers can step up on defense and learn how to close out on threes, especially with players like Buddy Hield and Maxey, of course, shooting the ball. We can get the win if we can close out on them. Let's finish the week with full court press. I'll end with a quick look at Lakers news. We call this full court press. I just type in Los Angeles Lakers and see if anything interesting and worth talking about comes up. And today, this article caught my eye on Bleacher Report by Paul Kasabian, which is Nets' Dennis Schroeder responds to Lakers' D'Angelo Russell, calls out immaturity. If you did not know, D'Angelo Russell, in an interview recently, said that he could not have a relationship with head coach Darvin Ham last season due to Dennis Schroeder, saying Dennis Schroeder's relationship with Darvin is the reason I couldn't have a relationship with Darvin. When I was struggling, I would have been able to come to the coach and say, bro, this is what we should do. Like, I can help you. Instead, there was just no dialogue, and I just accepted it. And we got swept, and I'm here, and he's not, and I like our chances. And Dennis Schroeder responded to this later, saying, I don't understand it, but at the end of the day, it just shows off immaturity. You're not really mature if you're just keeping somebody's name in his mouth and just running it. I don't understand. And D'Angelo Russell has been called out for his immaturity in the past, specifically his first stint with the Lakers, where he called out Nick Young for, I believe, a relationship with a girl. And the Lakers just did not take that the right way, and they ended up trading D'Lo and Timothy Mozgov, who had one of the worst contracts in NBA history, or Lakers history at least, besides probably Luol Deng. They traded both of them for Brook Lopez to the Brooklyn Nets, and that ended up being a great trade for D'Angelo specifically because he was able to shine a bit more and grow up, and he actually was an all-star for the Brooklyn Nets, and they were just a really fun team to watch during that time. So it ended up being good for him in the long run, but it is a sign that this is a sign that he's talking right now that maybe he hasn't grown up entirely as much as we've hoped. And I don't know why he likes to talk when he's up. It's a very Devin Booker-esque type thing. I still love him, of course, but I don't think he should be talking about former teammates like that, especially since Dennis Schroeder was just a great asset for the Lakers last season. He brought a lot of energy, especially when D'Lo was just not able to hit his shot or anything. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on this article. And that's it. Week 21 of the Lakers 2023-24 NBA season is wrapped. Join us next week after Week 22 when we once again run it back.